Welcome, everybody, to Night of the Nerdy Laser podcast, now with video. And this is one of our bonus episodes with just people in the community, the horror community, the con community. Just all we're trying to just open up and reach out to people and see what they have to say, and so you can find out more about stuff. I am Richard T. Yule, aka at Nerdy Laser. And I'm here with Metrotham Con's own Mark Norwood. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too. So I've never been to Metrotham Con, and we're going to talk about all sorts of things, but we'll start off talking a little bit about Metrotham Con, just so people have an idea. Yep. So, just give us the. I'll say give us a rundown, but I want to mention that I like the fact that Metrotham Con is kind of different every year, right? So you don't have like FrankenCon that me, Matt, and Corey run. We're a horror convention. That's what we stick with. But Metrotham Con, it's kind of cool. You get to play in different sandboxes every year.
Yeah, so that was kind of a cool idea, like kind of from the get-go. Each year we wanted to make it a different theme. Our first year is kind of an anime theme. Second year was the Horror, so we were horror themed our second year. This year was Revenge of the 80s, and next year's Return of the 90s. So we're very 90s heavy as far as guests and content and all that good stuff.
Well, 90s is my wheelhouse. Like, I was a teenager in the 90s. So, like, I consider, like, I'm more of a 90s kid than an 80s kid, really.
Yeah.
But the 90s gets a bad rap sometimes. But 80s just overshadows it. I don't know why.
Yep. I think that's kind of when all the pop culture and all that stuff started. The big boom was in the 80s. And that's why the 80s is so prevalent now. Like, all the stuff's getting remade as far as movies and TV shows and stuff. And action figures are being, reproduced. It's just 80s was so huge. It does kind of overshadow the 90s, but the 90s had a lot to offer as well. They took the ball and kind of ran with it and continued the trend.
For sure. I mean, we got Jurassic Park and some of the other big ones in there, and CGI started becoming a thing. So, 90s is cool. We'll talk about the guest list and other things that Metrotham Con has to offer, but I want to go back to your year of the Horror. Mm-hmm. You had some big names in that year. I was going through Paul T. Taylor, who I met recently at Smoky Mountain Fan Fest. He's amazing.
He's a darling. I love him.
He's so nice. I mean, he's so nice. He's really great. And he played Pinhead in the Hellraiser Judgment.
Yep.
So he was the better second Pinhead.
Right.
For now, we have the new one coming out, but there is another Pinhead that's not well regarded, but Paul, I think, did a really good job, and he really loves that movie too. And it's a really good movie. If you haven't seen it, I suggest watching it. It was I think it's the last one they did, but and what were some others? Tamara Glenn?
Yeah, we had Tamara Glenn. She was from Halloween 5. Mm-hmm. The Halloween franchise is by far my favorite of the horror franchises.
Nice.
We had Andrew Bernarski. He was Leatherface in a couple of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. We had Lisa Wilcox, which was probably my favorite of them, just because Alice and A Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and 5. I love Alice as a character.
So I've wanted to meet Lisa for a really long time. That's really cool. She's going to be at Scarefest, which are good friends of ours in Kentucky. TheScarefest.com is another great horror convention. Mm-hmm. They have Robert Englund this year, which is crazy. I am not envious of how they're going to control the line and the logistics of Robert Englund, but it is very cool that they got him. And he's doing photo ops. Like, they have the entire Part 4 reunion too, so it's really insane right now. And then
we had Lar Park Lincoln, Tina from Friday the 13th, Part 7. That's one of the ones that I think a lot of people remember because the the final girl actually could fight back with the mental, telekinesis stuff. That was a really cool showdown at the end. And that's the first time Kane Hodder played Jason Voorhees as well. So that's a cool part. And we had Jason Brooks, who does he plays Jason Voorhees in the fan made Vengeance stuff.
Oh, okay.
That's out. That was really cool. They did the Roseblood movie with Jason Brooks was Jason, and Lar Park Lincoln reprised her role as Tina in that one. So that was really cool. And then we had some anime guests as well. But horror, that was a fun year. I love horror movies. I love the horror genre as a whole. Very nostalgic for me. I remember as a kid, my dad would fall asleep on the couch with A Nightmare on Elm Street playing, and I'm a little kid, like, peeking my head up over him. Oh no, there he is. Like Freddy terrified me as a kid because he's the one that you couldn't run from, right?
Yeah. I mean, well, you went to sleep and there he was. So yeah, it was a really great tool for a kid, like to scare a kid.
Yeah.
He always terrified me too. The cockroach scene still to this day is like one of my like freak out.
You can check in, but you can't check out.
Yeah. Nightmare on Elm Street is so big. Like, I love that franchise. I don't know what my favorite franchise is. I mean, it might be Saw, actually. But you talked about Halloween. Are you one of the OGs totally against Rob Zombie?
I'm against Rob Zombies for one main reason. The part of the mystique to Michael Myers is you didn't really understand why he killed people, right?
True.
Whereas in the Rob Zombie remakes, it gave you felt empathy for him, right? You're like, okay, yes. I understand. You wanted to root for him, like, he was tormented as a kid. His parents sucked. All the kids in his school sucked. So you're like, okay, I feel for him. So it kind of took away the mystique of not knowing why he was the way that he was. That was kind of the big downfall for me.
Yeah. I get that a little bit. I mean, I like Rob Zombie. I'm like 90% of what he does. But I enjoy the Halloween series that he did. But I didn't see Halloween as a kid. I didn't see it really as a teenager. I saw it more as an adult. Some movies, for me especially, I know so much about them. Right. That I just don't want to see them. So then I wait, and then you've seen every trailer, you've seen every scene, so some of that, it kind of the bubble bursts on the really good stuff. But I'm a big fan of Halloween 3, and it's kind of gotten a resurgence lately.
Yeah, I mean, it has a huge cult following. I'm a huge fan of Halloween 3. I kind of liked that John Carpenter and Deborah Hill wanted to go that direction as far as like an anthology. I thought that was a really cool idea with the Halloween title. And the Silver Shamrock song, it's just so catchy, man.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. But NECA is putting out crazy merchandise for all that.
Yeah, my favorite of the Halloween series, and it's not a popular opinion at all, but it's probably the one that I saw the most. I believe it came out in '96. It was Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I've seen that one. I haven't seen 4 or 5, but for a podcast, somebody asked me to talk about 6, so I just watched it, and I enjoyed it. I mean, I don't see the hate. Like, I don't really get it.
Plus, it debuted, Paul Rudd, so you can't complain with that.
I wish we could have got him in the new release.
Yeah, that would have been cool. And 4 and 5 are pretty good too. I think 4 is probably one of the best aside from the original. I think in most people's minds, 4 kind of sticks out.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Danielle Harris is kind of a horror darling now. I mean, being in the Rob Zombie movies helped.
The Hatchet movies.
What do you think about the Blumhouse releases?
So
better or worse than Rob Zombie?
I'm a stickler for continuity, right? And I don't know. I know it's not a lot of people had an issue with Michael being her brother. But that kind of grew on me, and I really like that aspect. Just for him to retcon everything and still use Jamie Lee Curtis, I was like, I wish you could have continued maybe the storyline and done things a little different, like maybe bring back her son from H2O, Josh Hartnett's character, and use him, but they completely redone it. I don't think they're bad films. I enjoyed anything that's Halloween. Don't get me wrong. Even the Rob Zombie films, I enjoy watching those.
Tyler Mane, I thought, was an amazing Michael Myers. Like his presence,
as far as the presence, right? The physical presence was on point for Tyler, and in person, he's a massive dude.
Yeah, I've never met him in person, but he looks very large.
Yeah.
I did meet Robert Mukes, and Robert Mukes is like a crazy tall person. Like he's just giant. He like shook my whole arm. I mean, and he's a nice guy too.
Yeah. But you guys are bringing out a guest, correct, to our convention next year.
So it's with FrankenCon, a lot of, if you've listened to Night of the Nerdy Laser, we talk about FrankenCon all the time on there, and but I wanted to really do a con for Night of the Nerdy Laser because I've been podcasting for 7 years. I've never really done a con with it, so Metrotham Con is in Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is just a few hours from my house. So it was easy to kind of make that decision to reach out to you guys. And then, so we made that, I asked for a table and we worked that out and I got the table, but then I do have the good fortune of knowing some agents and stuff like that. And just happened like a few days later in the morning, one of the guys contacted me and said, I just got John A. Russo. And I knew we were kind of tapped for FrankenCon at that point. And so I instantly thought, well, what if they let me bring them with me to Metrotham Con? So I reached out to you, and it takes a little while to get those details worked out, but everything worked out, and it's set for John. And John is basically the co-creator of Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah,
him and George Romero both worked on the script, and John's a very famous writer in his own sense,
right?
And he created Return of the Living Dead. When George A. Romero, when they kind of went in different directions, George A. got Night, Dawn, and all that, and he got to keep Living Dead. So Return of the Living Dead, which is an equally great movie.
I think so too.
Yeah, it's great. I love it, and I only saw it. I was well into my 30s probably by the time I saw it.
Yeah, same.
So it was, I love that movie. We're so excited about John coming to Metrotham Con with us. He's not necessarily 90s, but and we can always tweak that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's always any added thing that you can add to any event or any table where you're promoting. We've done that before in the past too, or we'll bring out a celebrity guest to promote at our table with us when we do events. So that's becoming more and more common as the convention scene evolves. I see a lot of vendor tables and stuff. Well, hey, so and so brought to you by this company. So
Smoky Mountain Fan Fest did it with. I know his name's Jackson, but I can't remember his last name. But he was Georgie in it, and he's in the Lock and Key series. One of their vendors brought him, and then we have 2 people coming via vendors next year. So it really is kind of a cool thing. Something that I don't know happened like 5 or 10 years ago, but I think it's happening more.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think where I first saw that is with like the Power Ranger conventions. Like you'll see them, so they'll go and promote like Ranger Stop or Power Morphicon, and anywhere they go, they bring a couple of Rangers at their table to promote and sign. That's the first time I saw it, and that was probably maybe 3-4 years ago. And now they do that all the time. Anytime you see like a Ranger stop or a Power Morphicon, they have Rangers at their table for sure.
I saw it with wrestling probably about that long ago too, maybe 5 years ago. Like a wrestling toy company would bring in some wrestlers. Their wrestlers are a little easier to get to, right? Like, I mean, they're always touring or traveling or near somewhere. Whereas if you're trying to get an actress from Power Rangers or anywhere that it's logistically hard to put together a convention, and then the timing of everything has to be good. There's just so much that I don't know of how many people realize how much work goes into it. So when is Metrotham Con?
So it's May 12th through the 14th next year.
So
we
3-day
con. We thought about maybe, I know a lot of conventions are going to 2-day, but the content that we want to do, it's just, we can't cram all of that into just 2 days. So we need that additional evening on Friday to really do all the stuff that we want to be able to do.
With FrankenCon, we're just kind of doing our own thing, and we're just Friday and Saturday.
Right.
We're going to see how it goes, because I don't know of any other convention that's ever done this. But I'm sure
that's a newer thing. I've seen it
a newer thing
now. Yeah.
Well, that's good. It makes me feel better. But well, Sundays are kind of a drag, Like they can be. Some of the guests leave, and some of the vendors leave. But the nice thing about Sundays is you can recover from Saturday, sleep in, and then you can go get deals, in the dealer room.
And I think a key thing with Sundays too is to make for sure. And I know it can be scary because you don't want to plan like a big event or something on a Sunday and not have the turnout for it. But you have to have really good stuff on the event schedule for Sunday to make people want to come back. Or maybe even, bring in a celebrity guest that's Sunday only.
That's a good point. Putting on, when we did the first FrankenCon, it was 1 day, and that was extremely tough because a lot of guests didn't want to do 1 day.
Right.
Because it's a lot, and you're missing other conventions too. There's a convention every week, I think, at all times of the year.
That's true.
Within a couple of hours of each other. I mean, in fact, Metrotham Con and FrankenCon were the same weekend. And we're just 2.5 hours from each other.
That's so tough logistically to try to plan around, holidays, because our Sunday falls on Mother's Day next year. So one thing we were going to do is make, mothers get in free, that type of thing, and do a
that's a good idea.
So we're going to do that, but it's just, a week later, we're right on top of MomoCon, which is in Atlanta. We don't want to be that close. Yeah, we don't want to be that close. And then, you start getting into June, July, August, September. That's the big con season, in kind of the Southeast and all over, really. That's when your huge mega cons start happening. So we try to, stay before that. So May, we'll always try to stay kind of mid-May if possible.
We really liked mid-May, but I think our venue, we couldn't do it. I think we had waited not waited too long. It was it was about a week later, we had some dates to choose from, and, we picked June 9th and 10th.
Yeah.
So, Fanboy Expo's around here, and that's scary, but they're usually later in the summer. So, and Smoky Mountain's usually later. Well, Smoky Mountain Fan Fest and Fanboy, they were a week apart.
Right.
And Gatlin, Smoky Mountain was in Gatlinburg, which seems logistically awful.
Yeah.
Because there's the nice thing about ours is the airport is connected to the hotel we're in.
That's nice.
So we literally just, the talent walks over.
Well, one thing with like Smoky Mountain, and I was curious about it, is the majority of the people in that area are all tourists. they don't live there. So it's not like you can promote in that area and get people who are going to see it on a regular basis. You got to rely more on people who are visiting during that specific weekend, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's probably very tough. And Ty has talked about not being there, but I mean, I think, I don't know what I do know they're going to do next year, but I don't know that they've announced a venue yet. But, yeah, I don't know. I talked to a lot because we set up for FrankenCon out there just to promote that. And I talked to a lot of people, and a lot of them just saw it happening and decided to show up.
That's what my crew told me. They were there, promoting, and they said they had somebody out there with signs saying, "Hey, this is going on. Go in and get a ticket." And that's where they got a lot of their traffic from.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's scary.
Yeah, but I mean, if there's thousands of people there visiting, and they're like, "Oh, this is something to do for the day." Yeah,
it's not much more expensive than anything else up there,
right?
I mean, really,
the Ripley Aquarium and stuff it's very expensive.
I mean, I went to Dollywood for the first time in a while, and I used to work there, but it was $25 to park. And I remember when they went from like 10 to 12, and they thought people were gonna like riot, and now it's 25 just to pull in the parking lot. You're not even getting anything.
That's crazy.
So what other guests? We got John A. Russo coming. He'll be hanging out with us at our Night of Nerdy Laser table. But you got some really big names already.
Yeah. And that was kind of the goal for next year, to kind of up the guest list a little bit and take more chances on specific things and try to help grow the convention that way. So we got Jonathan Frakes from Next Generation.
That's a big one.
I haven't really seen him do like a smaller show, at least recently. I've been kind of tracking what he's been doing, and it's all like massive, like ballrooms full of people where the panel and stuff is. And I'm like, okay, that was a good get for our show and for our area. And it's 90s. I know it started late 80s, but it was more into the 90s was the Next Generation.
For sure.
And then we got Kevin Sorbo, Hercules. It was literally for multiple years, it was the most watched show on television. So
I know, isn't it crazy to think about that?
Yeah,
like that could never happen now. Like the way that show, like syndicated shows in general.
Yeah.
Hercules, Xena, that was huge.
They were, and I just recently went back and watched the first season, and with my eyes now, it's so cheesy, but I still loved it. It feels so good. So that was pretty neat going back and watching it. We announced Ian James Corlett, who is the original voice of Goku, who came on Toonami. So that's a really cool anime guest. He does a lot of other stuff too.
Nice.
So that's 90s. We just announced Edward Furlong, John Connor from T2, American History X, Detroit Rock City, The Crow, Wicked Prayer, Pet Sematary 2 for the horror fans out there.
Yep.
I'm
a huge Terminator fan, and as you can see,
nice.
I keep them close to my heart. No, I love Terminator 2. It's tied for my favorite movie of Jurassic Park, and Edward Furlong was like, we were the same age. Still are, but like at the time when I saw that movie, like, so it was the perfect movie for me to see, like, just because there was a cool kid in a movie doing cool stuff.
Yeah, and it holds up so well. I just watched it maybe 2 days ago, and it's still an amazing movie. It is probably, I'll go ahead and say it is one of the best pieces of film that's ever been created.
I think special effects wise and action wise and set piece wise, like there's so many crazy, like the office building and then the Miles's house and when they go to Mexico and just all these crazy locations and just killer action scenes.
Yeah, and I love how James Cameron used like the orange and blue tones for different times in the movie. So when he used the orange earthy tones, it was more of a sentimental moment. It was like when John Connor and the Terminator were bonding, in the desert. And then the blue was when it was a more intense, dangerous situation. In the T1000, anytime he was around, you could definitely tell it was shot in blue.
That's true. That is true. I love the movie. I love Robert Patrick. I hope to meet him soon. I think I'll have the opportunity. He's just really good in that movie. He's really good. So good. I don't think another evil Terminator can top him. He's just so perfect. I don't know. It's a great movie. I could talk about Terminator 2 all night. It's great.
But you'll have you have to talk to Edward about it during the weekend of the show for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I've never met him. I've never really had the opportunity. I think he came to a Fanboy at some point, but I don't. When I go to Fanboy anymore, I don't usually meet the guests just because either the lines are long or it can be pricey to go to cons too. It's just one of those things. I've never met him, so I definitely want to take the opportunity to meet him. Brain Scan. He was in Brain Scan. We did Brain Scan on that Nerdy Laser just a few months ago, and it's actually really. I had never seen it for some reason, and I enjoyed it.
It has a huge cult following as well. It's something that's growing. But that's kind of what we're trying to do, like at Metrotham Con. You mentioned conventions are so costly, and they are. I've been to so many other conventions, and just to get in the door, you're talking over $100 at a lot of them, right? That's not counting the hotels, especially if you're in a big city, are going to be $300 or more per night. Parking is atrocious in Atlanta, downtown, any big metro area, it's going to be crazy.
Even in Knoxville, I don't really like downtown parking because I'm not from Knoxville, so I don't really know where to park. So I'm probably always parking somewhere that's illegal, but I just haven't gotten towed yet.
Right. But I mean, before you even walk in the place, if you're just a single person that paid for a ticket, that got a room for 2 nights, you're pushing close to $1,000 already.
It's true.
And that doesn't leave you with a lot of money to buy that autograph or get that photo op or spend money in the vendor hall. And that limits the convention, I feel like. So that's why we're trying to be very affordable, like on our vendor tables. And our badge is $30 for the weekend. I mean, and you get a lot of
that is a great deal.
You get a lot of stuff for that, right? So you get, like, during the day, we have family-friendly stuff, the panels, live-action Mario Kart, Super Smash Brother tournaments, Beat Saber tournaments.
Wait. Can we go back to the live-action Mario Kart? What is this? I don't know what this is.
We have Mario Kart RC cars. So we have a kid's circuit and an adult circuit. So we have that.
Awesome.
Now, Carnival Day planned out for kids where there's like ring toss and a clown will be there on stilts, balloon animals, face painting, all that good stuff. We have our Pokemon mascot characters that come out and do photo ops. We do a Pokemon hunt, Dragon Ball Z scavenger hunt. And then you start to get into some of the adult stuff. We have karaoke at night. We have tabletop gaming all through the weekend. We've got lip sync battles, cosplay contest. We've got a drag show Friday night, a burlesque show Saturday, a risque cosplay, live music. We have an adult comedy show. That's a lot of stuff you get for $30.
Yeah. Y'all have definitely crammed it full with stuff. Yeah, and the hotel's not bad either, right? I mean, it connects to the venue,
right?
And
there.
Then it's only $150. Is that right?
$150 a night. That's it. Yeah,
that's a great deal. I mean, anytime you can get less than $200, really. Yeah, you're doing a good job.
I had to work on that one. That's for sure.
Sure. Our hotel is great to us, and and we have a pretty good price as well. But it can be. I haven't really had to deal with. They're really, really nice to us. So,
that's why I said that frees up a lot of extra money for people to purchase those autographs. They don't have to pick like, oh, I can only get, Jonathan Frakes. I don't have enough money to get Edward Furlongs too.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why we try to stay affordable. And if possible, as long as we keep growing attendance and selling more merchandise, we don't ever have to raise the price unless the venue goes crazy, and raises the prices of things. We can kind of keep it where it's at and make it affordable for everybody.
So where's the venue? We know it's in Chattanooga. What's the name of the venue?
It's the Chattanooga Convention Center. It's
All
downtown, right. Like you said. It's connected to the Marriott there, which is our host hotel. It's super simple. You go across this little walkway, down an escalator, boom, you're right there at our ticket booth.
Nice.
And right there where the vendor hall is. It's super you can navigate it very easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're really excited about it, and so I know the vendor hall hours are like kind of normal hours, but like you said earlier, like the con just goes till like 11 o'clock at night, right? Like
it goes past midnight. So
past midnight.
We have after parties and stuff that go on. I'm sure we'll have room parties since we're in the Marriott.
They just naturally happen, right?
Even the room parties, yes.
Yeah. The room parties naturally happen. Apparently, there were some at FrankenCon, but I was past that. It's very hard to party if you're putting these on.
It is. My feet hurt so bad.
So I had started having problems with my feet like a week before the convention, and by the time I hit the convention, like the day of, it was a Saturday. We were there on Friday, and by Friday night, my feet were killing me. So my wife was like, "I'm gonna come up. I'll go buy you a pair of shoes." She had to go buy me a pair of shoes, bring them to me, and my legs were not good. So it can, because it's a ton of walking, especially for you guys at a convention center.
And that's like you touched on it earlier. There's a lot more that goes into this stuff than what people realize.
Oh yeah.
I
mean, not in a bad way necessarily, but there's just so much. But even just doing badges, like there'll be stuff that, when we were putting all this together, it's like, oh crap, we got to come up with those. It's like, and you want them to be nice. You don't really want to skimp on things,
right?
But everything costs money. So, but you guys, this is your fourth. So it's your fourth year, right?
Fourth year. Yep.
Okay. So what's the website and the socials so people can find you?
Yeah, so you can get tickets. Currently, the way too early pre-registration price is $30 for the weekend at metrothamcon.com. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. We got a YouTube channel all at Metrotham Con. You can find us there. We do a weekly live show every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern. We skipped this week. We try to be religious on that and do it every single week. Basically,
that's a good goal.
Yeah, and we do it for the most part. There's sometimes we have to reschedule and do different things, but that's typically where you get all the news first, like guest announcements and stuff like that. And I'll give you a special guest announcement that we haven't announced yet. Billy West will be at Metrotham Con next year.
And that is a voice actor who is pretty much everybody. Fry, Futurama.
The Professor, Zoidberg, Zach Brannigan. He's Bugs Bunny. He's Ren and Stimpy, Doug Funny. Like all 90s.
Now
that's the perfect 90s guy.
I'm getting them for sure. Yeah. that is big. That's huge. You guys are knocking it out of the park, and I can't tell people how important it is to pre-order your tickets. If you think you're gonna go, please buy them now. It's just a big help, and I know it just seems like, well, we'll wait, but just don't wait. It makes it easier for the con to continue and just to put on the show that they want to. So please go pre-order these tickets. Is the price will go up, right? Closer to it?
Yes, the price will go up to $40 as we get closer. So, I mean, you can save $10 in the process. If you're going anyway, you might as well do it. And like I said, you get a lot for your money.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Well, Mark, thank you so much for coming on Night of Nerdy Laser. We will see you at Metrotham Con. It's been great talking to you. And yeah, come out and see us. Come see us and Billy West and John Russo and Edward Furlong and all these great people. And until next time, keep it bloody. And Matt and Jeff will be back eventually.
Nice. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, buddy.